Hey y'all, Lainey here. What we're going to be talking about in this video is buzz roll basses, okay? So if you haven't already, make sure you check out the buzz roll video. It should be on the YouTube playlist, but I talk about buzz roll technique within that video, so make sure you check that out before you come to this video. So we're going to talk a little bit about buzz roll basses, what they are, how to determine them, and then how to practice them. I've got several exercises written up here. I've got another one down at the bottom, or excuse me, down on the floor that I'm going to pull up here in a second that will show you a little bit of an advanced way to kind of take these buzz rolls and really take it to the next level. So let's talk a little bit about buzz technique. Again, check out that other video if you haven't. I go more in detail about how to produce that. But essentially what we're going to be focusing on today is the buzz roll, okay? So making sure that you are producing consistent sounds between both of your hands and you're trying to overlap the sticks to create the illusion of this sustained sound. That's what a buzz roll's job is, okay? So here's what we're going to be talking about. A buzz roll bass is essentially going to be the skeleton rhythm that you are playing underneath a buzz roll. Every time that you play a buzz roll, there's some kind of rhythm underneath it. Now, for a louder roll, you're going to need a faster buzz roll bass, just so that you can make sure that the velocity is matching the sustained sound, okay? For a softer buzz roll, you're going to need a slower roll bass, okay? So the two big ones that I'm going to talk about today are 16th note bass rolls and then 16th note triplet bass rolls. These are going to be quicker, so these would be used for louder dynamics. These are going to be a little bit slower, so they can be used for a lot of softer sections. Now, I'm also going to show you 5-lit buzzes, and 5-lits are basically in between the 9-stroke and the 13 strokes. So if you find a piece that has buzz rolls written and they sound too choppy when you're playing with the 16th notes, or if they're too frantic with the 16th note triplets, 5-lits will be the way to go. So we'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. So again, the goal of a roll bass is to create the most sustained sound possible without being able to hear the beginning and all of the rhythms within the roll, okay? Really, really important that you're focusing on your attack and your release. They need to be super duper consistent so that the roll bass can happen, okay? So let's go ahead and look at the first one that I have. I also referenced this in the last video with the buzz roll introduction, if you will. So check out that video again if you need more clarification here. But essentially what we're going to be doing is playing a 16th note based roll bass, all right? 1 E into 2, 3 E into 4, bzzz, okay, so these little Z's indicate that you need to buzz on those 16th notes, all right? So I'll play it at quarter note equals 70 for you. Here we go. And 1, and 2, and ready, and play, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and... Now, as I said a second ago, these are a little slow. You can probably hear exactly where my hands are hitting when I'm playing through the buzz section. This would probably be best utilized in a soft roll. So now I'm going to keep it at the same tempo, but I'm going to play it very, very soft. 1 and 2, and here I go. Now, if you haven't figured this out yet, soft playing is way harder than loud playing. If you feel like you're comfortable with anything else and everything else that any of your teachers have given you, practice soft playing. It's something that I'm still working on. Buzz rolls are something that I'm still working on, and I've been playing for a really, really long time. So make sure that you're always challenging yourself to play everything at a soft dynamic, because that requires an immense amount of control. So, again, these slower rolls will typically be utilized within a softer dynamic. Hopefully you could hear how it was much more connected when I played softer, okay? Now let's talk about the 13 stroke buzzes, okay? Now, I wrote this in as 16th note triplets. You could also do it within like a triple meter or a compound meter, 6/8 or 12/8 or something like that. But I chose to do it as 16th note triplets, okay? So within this same tempo, it's going to sound like this. 1 triplet and triplet 2, 3 triplet and triplet 4, 1 triplet 2, 3 triplet and triplet 4. Okay, on the snare drum. Now, hopefully you could hear that that sounds a lot more connected at the loud dynamic than the 16th note buzzes did, okay? So, if you've got a louder rhythm within a piece, I would suggest starting here and using these, and then if you don't feel like you've got quite the coordination for that, then going back to the 6s. I'm going to bump up the tempo just a fuzz. I'm going to go right at 80, play it one more time for you. Here we go, and 1, and 2, and ready, and play, So for me, for my buzz rolls, 80 is like the sweet tempo. Okay, this exercise works really, really great for quarter note equals 80. 70 was a little bit too slow. Okay, so I would probably have to go to 30-second notes, which would be if I was playing a little bit slower than this. But like I said, 80 is going to be my sweet spot for the 13-stroke buzzes. You may be completely different than me. Your buzz rolls are going to be way different than mine just because we are different musicians. Okay, so just make sure that you keep that in mind. Whenever you are analyzing a piece of music, make sure that you are looking at the note duration for the buzz roll and also the tempo, okay? Those are going to dictate, in addition to the dynamics, which roll base to use. Within any etude that I choose to play, I may use 16th notes, I may use 5-lets, I may use 6s. It all depends on the context. For example, I just was working on De La Cluse 2 recently. And in De La Cluse 2, what I chose to use were a mix of 5-lets for these quarter note rolls and also using 16th note bases, okay? So it all depends on the context of the music that you're playing. You have to experiment and you have to try things out. It's just like finding your stickings. You have to try different things to figure out what works best for you and what gives you the most consistent and the most solid sound. So make sure that you're taking the time to experiment with different roll bases whenever you're playing through a solo or an etude or anything like that, okay? So that's the 9-stroke and the 13-stroke. Now, those are going to be the most common buzz roll bases that you're going to run into within snare drum repertoire. So make sure that you've got those down. You can nail those. Now, just for funsies, I thought I would show you 5-lets. So if you've never studied 5-lets, here we go. Hang on, it's going to be a wild ride. So this is really, really common in French drumming, okay? So I just pulled up and showed you the De La Cluse book, okay? This guy was a famous French composer and snare drummer. So a lot of his pieces have really, really good settings for 5-let basses, 5-let roll basses. Now, the tradition there, they liked to play 5s, 7s, 11. They liked to play these odd numbers. In Western music, the United States and other parts of Europe, we all like duple. We like, 16th notes and maybe a triplet here and there, but for the most part, we like 4s and 8s and 2s, okay? The 5s are really, really weird, okay? Now, whenever you're counting a 5-let, I want you to say university, university 1, okay? So, your tap stroke is going to be your release, your release note is going to be on the beat. University 2, university 4, university 2, university 4. The hard thing about 5-lets is making sure that everything is spaced evenly. I know that I have the tendency to crush at the end, to cram everything in. Now, when you're practicing 5-lets, unfortunately there's not a 5-let subdivision on your metronome. So, you're going to have to make sure that it's just playing on the quarter note. Ba, 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 ba. So we're going to go right about where we've been hanging out, 66. I'm just going to play this first measure for you. And I want to go ahead and show you that your release note is always going to be different. Because we're in a grouping of 5, which is an odd number, we are going to have a release note that is on the opposite hand than the one that we start. It's not like 16th notes, okay? 1 and 2 and just this part and university 2, university 2, university 2. So that's just how to play a 5-let at its base. Whenever you've got the quarter notes, that's when it's easiest. Whenever you have 5-lets going into 8th notes or 16th notes, that's when things get really, really tricky. So if you really want a brain blast for that, send me an email and I can send you some exercises. Okay, now let's check out this part down here. We've got some buzzes, and again, we're going to have that that release note is going to be on the opposite hand from which you start. Okay? I'm playing all of these on the right hand for right now. I would not recommend going to the left hand lead until you are super comfortable with just playing the singles, both hand leads. Okay, so make sure you try that out first. All right, here we go. Now I'm going to play the buzzed fives. 1, 2, and here I go. And now, for my particular buzz roll, these work really, really well whenever I'm within, say, 75 to like 100. I can really make these work for me. 1 and 2, and here I go. And again, you may be different than me. That may be too fast, it may be too slow. It all depends on the amount of buzzes that you're getting out of each note that you play on the drum. Okay, but I just wanted to show you that. Again, fives are going to fall right between the 9-stroke and the 13-stroke. So if you've got that tool in your pocket, you can definitely use that whenever you're playing through some etudes. I find that 5-lets really, really work really well with any Cerrone etude. So if any of you are working on a portraits and rhythm snare drum study, be sure to try out some 5-lets in your buzzes and see if that helps produce a really sustained and even roll. Okay, I think that's all I got for you on roll basses. Okay, happy practicing, and we'll catch you later.